Joe Mixon you have to the Packers, 29th overall.
Oh, yeah.
Mixon is going to be a first-round pick, you think?
I think Mixon has a chance to be a first-round pick because here's the thing when it comes to Joe Mixon. If Joe Mixon is on your board, you can catch the same heat whether you take him in the first round, the fourth round, or the seventh round. If he is on your team, you're going to have to deal with all the stuff that comes along with it from a negative PR standpoint. So if you're saying that this guy is going to be a feature back for your team, you need to be in a position where you can take him. Teams that are thinking, oh, we'll just wait to the bottom of the second round to get him, he's not going to be there. So you're going to have to make the conversation that if he is someone that you're earmarking to be a player on your team, to make the kind of plays that he should be able to make as a David Johnson-like playmaker, you're going to have to try and figure out, where do I take him? The bottom of the first round might be the sweet spot, but I don't believe he gets past 40 on draft night. And the thing that affects general managers, because remember, everybody's affected by what happens the previous season. After people ignored Tyreek Hill because of his egregious situation, his error, and all the heinous stuff that he participated in, but then they watched him week after week put the ball in the paint and make explosive plays and help Kansas City become the division champ. There are more teams going to be like, look, he was a model citizen. Maybe Joe Mixon can engineer a similar turnaround with the right support system. And so the teams that are tagged with Joe Mixon all have a common denominator. Small market team, strong personalities in the front office and on the coaching staff, and they're willing to take a chance on a 20-year-old running back who has extraordinary talent. If he wasn't talented, he wouldn't be on anybody's board.
Of course. Well, that makes sense.
But that's what it is, and that's the risk-reward deal that everyone is dealing with.
Well, what are you hearing in the scouting community about Mixon's personality now that he is a 20-year-old? He'll be 21 by the time that he hits an NFL gridiron this fall. We had him on the show yesterday, Bucky, and he did say over and over again that he made a mistake. But I did ask him just point blank, because I don't know him. It's the first time I've ever spoken to him. Where does that come from? Where does that come from? Where you haul off and hit a woman, where does that come from? And his answer showed no introspection on that topic. I would think that somebody, and again, this may sound critical or whatever, I don't know him, but it sounds like if this had happened to me, I would spend at least 2 to 3 years in the interim, also knowing that I'm in the middle of this PR firestorm, thinking about that where does that come from? He didn't have he didn't have an answer on it. He kind of punted on the answer, to be honest with you. But he's also 20.
He's also 20. And I think what we have to also realize, like, players come from all different types of life. And without being privy to his background and where he grew up and what he was around and what he's seen and those who counseled him growing up and how they taught him how to act like a man growing up and those things, I can't speak on that. I can speak on my interactions when he was in high school and he came to the opening regional camps up at Beaverton, and we had an opportunity to watch him and do those things. He was a model citizen up there. Yes, he has been involved in some things that you worry about, and you worry about him and her, both people that were involved in the incident, and how they'll recover. I think the big thing that you have to do if you're a team is you really have to investigate not only him, but those who are around him, who are going to be the centers of influence. Do you have an infrastructure in place that will allow him to continue to grow up as a young man? We talk about 20 years old, and I understand at a time sometimes with athletes, we're unforgiving when they make transgressions. And I absolutely understand why you wouldn't want to give him a second chance. However, if we're looking at him and saying, look, the rest of your life isn't over at 20, we're going to give you an opportunity to have another chance to do something that you love, but you have to show that you can be a model citizen, then we're going to surround you with everything that we can to allow you to grow. And if you can't do it, then you let him go. You dismiss him, and he probably won't get another opportunity. So I think you have to make the decision based on his track record, what he's shown from his time at Oklahoma to the time he's out, to see if you can trust him. And every team would not be willing to take a chance. But I'm telling you, there are more than a handful of teams that are willing to investigate the possibility of putting him on the roster. And so he's going to be picked. He's probably going to be picked higher than anyone imagined because the talent is what I talked about before. It's intoxicating.
Well, if your level of measurement is handfuls, he told us 3 actual handfuls. He said 15 teams have brought him in.
I mean, 15 visits, and some of the teams are led by some people that you're like, really? They brought you in, we wouldn't think that. But
Who's that?
I think some of the teams that you talked about, you hear Kansas City, you talk about Denver, you hear Jacksonville being interested, Tampa Bay. Some of the other teams, Minnesota could be intriguing, Green Bay. There are a lot of teams that people are going to open up and be like, wow, why would they even consider him based on either his history or their own history? But because they believe they have a culture in place, they have a locker room in place that will allow him to grow and thrive, that's why they're kicking the tires on Joe Mixon.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.